The Monophysite Heresy, also known as Eutychianism, is one of the heresies that ultimately denies the humanity of Jesus. Eutychianism was pioneered by an abbot, the leader of a monastery known as Eutyches, who in the year 466 AD made the following claim: that while Jesus was human and divine before its union in the Incarnation, after the Incarnation, you're only left with the divine Jesus. In other words, the humanity of Jesus is lost in a sea of divinity, dissolved in a sea of divinity. Jesus' humanity is like so much Alka-Seltzer, and it's dropped into a sea of divinity where it just dissolves into utter insignificance. The problem with this heresy is the same problem that other heresies that deny Jesus' humanity, namely that it cuts us off from salvation. The very fact that Jesus is human and divine saves, even before he does anything, even before he says anything. The fact that Jesus Christ is permanently human and permanently divine, according to Orthodox Catholic teaching, that shows that God accepts us. And that's the essence of salvation, our acceptance from God. And basically, the fact that Jesus Christ is human and divine and lacks sin shows how we ought to be, that we sin less and become more virtuous and more holy. And Jesus models that path. Jesus models that example. So Jesus, by being both human and divine, and that unity is permanent, so the natures cannot be mixed together, they cannot be separated. And that offers a path for our salvation, because we have this God-man whom we can follow, whom we can imitate, even though we do not become God-men ourselves. We gain closer union with God, theosis. And because Jesus is a God-man, his actions have validity on earth. His earthly actions are authentic, because this is not some sort of human mirage. This is God going to the mat for us. So his work, his miracles, his preaching, his other activities are divine, but they're done through human mediums, speaking, touching, walking with us. All of those things which, if Eutyches is right, that gets denied because the humanity is swept away. Okay, so how should we understand, according to Orthodox teaching, the interplay between humanity and divinity? Well, when I was in Egypt, I went to a place called Wadi Natrun, which is the birthplace of Christian monasticism. It began in Egypt and it spread west, and Benedict basically picked up on what the Eastern Fathers did with monasticism, including the Desert Fathers and Mothers who set up the first monastic communities, like St. Anthony of the Desert. When I was at Wadi Natrun, and a wadi is an oasis, and Natrun is where they got the nitrates to mummify bodies during the Pharaonic period of Egyptian history, I talked to Coptic Christians. They are Orthodox Egyptians. They are the first Egyptians. And once upon a time they were accused of being Monophysite, but that's a political situation more than anything, a misunderstanding. We're not going to get into that in this video. And I had a nice talk with the guest master of one of the monasteries. And I asked him, okay, I understand that you Copts are not Monophysite, that you share the Orthodox teaching of the humanity and the divinity of Jesus. We together deny this heresy. We believe together the Orthodox teaching that Jesus Christ is fully human and fully divine. So how would you understand these natures coming together? And Brother Theodore took out an incenser and pulled out a charcoal briquette. Now, this computer mouse, I'm going to pretend, is a charcoal briquette, because, as you can see, a charcoal briquette on fire on the board is not going to look very good. So, let's take this mouse and let's pretend it's a charcoal briquette. And Brother Theodore said, suppose this briquette was on fire. You can make out the briquette. You can make out the fire. The briquette represents Jesus' humanity. The fire represents his divinity. And you can distinguish between the two easily. But where does the fire end and the briquette begin? Where does the briquette end and the fire begin? Metaphorically, you can say that points to the question, where does Jesus' humanity end and Jesus' divinity begin? Where does Jesus' divinity end? And where does his humanity begin? You cannot tell. All you can say is his humanity and divinity can be distinguished. Distinguished in that you can tell which is which. However, you cannot mix them together. You cannot separate them. Thus you have a permanent, seamless, hypostatic union of humanity and divinity. Neat, huh?